I'm going to say as part of thank you before I go over to Yusuf, because you four ladies are ultimate Wonder Women. I have to say this on screen. You four are amazing human beings, and the only way I can put this forward is that the more I read from you all, the more I follow your content, the more I interact individually. The learning exponential is actually a small word. If there was a bigger word than exponential, it happens every interaction. So Captain America, i.e. Yusuf, on behalf of all the four amazing Wonder Women of Singapore and Connected Experience, I'm passing this to you. Please sum up, in your opinion, this whole experience of the importance of listening, reflecting, and finally appreciating another fellow human being from both a personal growth perspective and a business/corporate brand perspective.
Great question, Joy. And while you were talking and you were summarizing what everyone's spoken, I just realized that, yes, we've been doing this too long, brother, because you were taking words out of my mouth. And I was like, oh, goodness, I was thinking about saying that, but now Joy's already said it. So nicely done, brother. But okay, so the main thing which I would like to start with, and this is going back to our Golden Jubilee episode, where, and shout out to Puja in that, because she actually made me change my connect, relate, engage to care. Connect, appreciate, relate, engage. And that is so important. And that is I think the essence of communication. And through communication comes where we can actually empathize and we can actually connect meaningfully with the other person around us. So going back to the person who shared first, Ms. SUCHI, what the main thing that came to mind was basically the importance of not just doing things for others where you actually get social recognition, because there's a lot of things that Ms. SUCHI does which are not even digitally broadcasted. Let me put it that way. I mean, she does so much work for so many people, uplifting people who are, in the doldrums, so to speak, mentally. And, she does so much work to, with the underprivileged, with the silver generation, with the old age homes, to people who are intellectually and mentally disabled to a certain extent, which she has never shared. And that brings the importance of being present in the moment. And that is, I think, the most important aspect. So, I mean, going into what Charu said, I think that's also very, very important, because yes, you can be, a silent hero, so to speak, but under certain circumstances, it's also important to actually spread the awareness of the actions that you are undertaking and you're doing for society around you. And what better way to do it in today's technology-ridden world than through the digital media? So, and that's not just in the personal aspect, but also in the business aspect. I'm a big believer in saying that you could have the best product and service, but if people around you don't know what you're doing, then you would be sitting there with an empty shop with overheads literally sort of piling up on you. So you have to go out there. You have to hustle. I know it's a negative word, but you have to hustle. You've got to let people know who you are, what you do to a certain extent. It's not about bragging. It's about raising awareness, because it's not just about letting people know what you're doing. It's basically bringing people into what your core beliefs and your purpose are. And that's what sometimes brings together more people to be able to support a particular cause. So that's where digital marketing, I think, has brought in a lot of, has brought the world, closer together and made it a lot smaller. Going very nicely into what Puja said, I loved what you said. On most occasions, people focus on the victim mindset, but you should focus on the victor mindset. So victim to victor. And that is, I think, a thing that sort of struck out to me the most, because there are so many people out there who are basically continually thinking that, there could be better, they could be better, things to be better around them, but they do not look within to see the value that they all provide and they bring to the world around them. So it's just that change in mindset, the change in outlook to a certain extent, which is so important. And that's where I feel, what Kasthuri said, it's so important to actually observe. And this is what I'm going to actually say. There are two more pillars in being able to communicate effectively. Number one is being present. You can't do anything without having yourself there in the situation. But is being present enough? I don't think so. I think just being present without actually observing how you can make a difference, without actually observing the real wants, the needs, the requirements, both from a personal standpoint as well as from a professional perspective, whether you're sitting with a client or you're sitting with a person who you are actually working with on a social upliftment level. You have to observe properly. You have to create that safe space for them so they're able to let you know and discuss with you what really is the main issue, what really is the main problem. So thank you, Kasthuri, for that, because it's not just presence, but you have to have that power of observation to being able to decode to a certain extent as to how important it is sometimes that for people to just be there. Now, shout out definitely to Miss SUCHI, because she's the reason as to why we are actually all together on the screen today. Being the Southeast Asia chair of Global Goodwill Ambassadors, I'm deeply indebted to you, Ms. SUCHI, for having introduced me to Puja, Charu, and of course Kasthuri. And that forms my inner circle here in Singapore and in my life. So thank you very much for that, Ms. SUCHI. So I mean, it's what I'd like to actually end with is like, there are so many things around you which can positively affect you and make you grow, as long as you have that power of observation and that intent of being present. So practice those two things in whatever you do. And because very, very nicely said by all of you, this world is a small place and life is beautiful, but how we make of it is a choice that we make intrinsically from within ourselves.
Choice.
So the power of choice is important, but there is always another thing which I'm a firm believer of. Yes, choice. The choices that we make do have an impact on our future, but they are not the sole makers of our future, because there is always one part which is outside our control, which will never be in our control. So, but that doesn't mean that we stop making the choices at the right moments to make a difference in our lives and in the lives of other people around us. So thank you so much for joining us and basically thank you, Joy, for bringing us together to give our network and our viewers a very nice insight into what connected experience is and what we want to do. So I'm actually going to do a slightly new segment, and it's a very simple question, because you all have been on the show. We all know certain likes and dislikes that all of you have, and what makes you tick, and who's the person behind the persona along those lines. But the question for all of you today from my Connected Experience team, and I'm happy to answer that question at the end as well, is think about one aspect from your childhood which whenever you think about it, it brings back very fond memories. It could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be an occasion, and hopefully you want to go back to it sometimes, but can't on most occasions as much as you'd like to. So share with us a childhood experience which is very dear to your heart,